How long does it take to get emotionally sober, and what exactly do you need to do? I'm going to give you an overview in this video of how long it takes to get emotionally sober and what are the things you need to do and things you need to learn. So first of all, how long does it take to get emotionally sober? That's like, there's no time limit. It's like learning yoga, right? If you came and started a yoga class and you learned how to do yoga and you did it most days, at the end of a week, you'd be a bit better, but by no means an expert. At the end of the month, you'd be a bit better. At the end of a year, you'd be better. And it's something you continue to practice, right? If you stop doing yoga, just stop, you will lose it all. You will lose the flexibility and like the routines and all that kind of stuff. You'll just lose all of the benefits you gain from it. So it's something that you continue to do. And if you continue to do it over your lifetime, you will gain great benefits from it. Emotional sobriety is exactly the same. It works exactly the same. If you practice the key concepts of emotional sobriety, you will see significant changes in a few short months. I've been practicing this for over 20 years and I'm still growing and learning. It's not something, you're not fixed, right? This isn't something you come, you're fixed and off you go, because we are growing and evolving and organic and things are changing. And that's the beautiful thing of life. That's the juice of life, is this process that we're in. So somebody asked me that question and I wanted to answer it. Like, I can't tell you it takes 3 months, but I can tell you if you practice these principles, you will begin to feel better. Now, it may not be there, but it will be there soon. I have a program called the Breakthrough Program that teaches a lot of this in it. And if you check below, you should see a link to it. If it's not there, it will be there. Check back, it will be there shortly. So what I'm going to talk about is the emotional sobriety principles, the things you absolutely need to learn in order to become emotionally sober and then keep it and maintain it. So I think there's a few things. We have to learn how to have boundaries, balance, deal with resentments, change our limiting beliefs, and put all of that into a practice that we consistently use to maintain our mental and emotional health for the rest of our life. We need, just like yoga will keep you fit and flexible for the rest of your life. As long as you keep doing it, emotional sobriety is the same. We just keep doing it because then I stay emotionally sober and my mental and emotional health is taken care of, because if I don't do that, my brain starts looking for an outside fix. I did this twice in my sobriety. Twice I've stopped doing everything that I've done. I stopped my practice. It was when I had my children and I was exhausted and had a little baby. And what happens is almost unnoticeably, but I start veering back to this place of restless, irritable, and discontent. And everything around me just sucks and people suck. And I can't believe the way people do that. And I can't believe the way my husband says that and my neighbor. And here's the rule. I love this phrase. Write it down. When I'm okay with me, I don't have to make you wrong. And what that means is, when I'm okay with me, I don't need to pick fault with other people. This doesn't mean that we accept what's unacceptable. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that when I'm okay with me, I don't take anything personally. How people behave, what they do, I can have boundaries, I can get on with my day. It just doesn't impact me. I want to tell you, that is a fantastic way to be. It is a fabulous way to navigate the world. To be free of the good and bad opinion of other people, to have emotional mastery. And let me just remind you what emotional sobriety is. Emotional sobriety is when you feel comfortable in your own skin. So I'm not looking for something outside of myself to numb or take away uncomfortable feelings, because I'm just really comfortable in myself. And I have emotional mastery, which doesn't mean I'm not going to get upset or angry or disappointed. Those are human emotions that I will experience. It just means I have mastery over them. I can process and I can release them, and I can get back to this really nice, comfortable place that I've been living in. So that's what emotional sobriety is. And this is what it consists of. Emotional sobriety consists of having really good boundaries, and that is a skill that you can learn. And it will all be in the Breakthrough Program, by the way. It is a skill that you can learn anytime. Having boundaries keeps the good in and the bad out. Now, the reason that we need to have boundaries is, my experience has been with people with an alcohol problem, is that we are often people pleasers. A people pleaser is somebody, and this is who I used to be, I used to care more about what you thought of me than what I thought of me. If you liked me and approved of me, then I felt okay. If I thought or suspected that you didn't like me or didn't approve of me, that was very distressing to me, and I would just try and make you like me again. You can't live like this. It's a horrible way to live, because you are dependent on the whims and what you think other people think of you for you to feel okay. So boundaries will stop all of that. Because to have boundaries means sometimes I have to say what I think, even if it's uncomfortable. And I sometimes have to say no, even though you might be upset if I say no. And that, for me, was terrifying to do that. And it probably will be for you. But I want to tell you, it was life-changing. It changed my life. Because I realized that what mattered is that I had to show up in the day, and I have to sleep in my head at night, and I have to behave in a way that means that I can sleep in my head at night. Like, I just don't like myself when I'm a fake person. I didn't like myself when I was like, oh yeah, hi, when I was just false and fake and said things I didn't mean and agreed to do stuff that I didn't want to do. Like, I didn't like myself. So boundaries enable us to like ourselves again, and that you can't put a price on that feeling. So having boundaries takes practice. It's not something that will happen in a week, because there is a lot of people around you who are very used to you behaving in a certain way. Write this down. We teach other people how they can treat us. So if you're always like, yeah, I'll do it, yeah, no problem, you've just taught everybody that you'll do it. So they'll just let you do it because you've always agreed to it. So they'll just expect that from you. If you, if you are always the person that runs the errands or whatever, we teach other people what we will accept and what we will not accept. So you're changing the rules of the game with a lot of people, and there's quite a few people who won't like it, and they're just going to have to learn to live with it. But it's uncomfortable for us, because remember that we're people pleasers. It's going to be uncomfortable for us to have people sometimes upset or disappointed or disapproving even of us. But it comes down to two choices. And this isn't, by the way, this is not about behaving unacceptably or accepting unacceptable behavior. It's not that at all. We're not going around being an arsehole. We're just being very clear about managing our energy, managing our time, managing what we can do and what we can't do, and being free of the good and bad opinion of other people. That is a good place to be, being free of the good and bad opinion of other people. Now, we also need to have balance. We need to balance our needs according to our circumstances. Sounds simple? It's a lifelong practice, because our circumstances will always change. So we need to balance our needs, and our needs change according to what's going on, how old we are, our job, whether we're ill. Like, there's so many different variables that will change our needs. So our needs are like needs for connection with friends, with family, with our kids. It could be our purpose, our career, our job, our studies, health needs, mental health needs, physical needs. Like, we all have different needs that we're just trying to juggle and balance with all of the demands on our time and all that kind of stuff. So you can't have boundaries without having balance, and you can't have balance without having boundaries. Those two things go together. And the Breakthrough program, by the way, will teach you how to do all of that. The next thing we have to conquer is resentments. Resentments are when we rent space in our head to people, when we feel that there's been an injustice, we've been misunderstood, that something is unfair, and we just go over and over and over it in our mind. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? Have you played out those scenarios where you're like, oh my God, he said this and I wish I'd said that, and we want to show them, like we want to show them that we're right. And it eats up, it eats us up. It eats up energy, it eats up time. Those are resentments, also called activating events. This is, in my programs, these are core things that we do, is we learn how to deal and get free of resentments. Because when we nurture resentments, what we're doing is we are have a faulty belief that you need to apologize, you need to recognize that you're wrong, you need to make it better. what that does is gives my power away. Because if I'm waiting for you to do something or for you to change, for me to feel okay, then I'm screwed. I need to have the power to feel okay regardless of what you do. Regardless of what you do. Now, the reason this work is so important is it is this process that begins the shift in perception. All sobriety is a shift in perception. It's that we see everything differently. And this is a mechanical process that begins to create that shift. Now, if you were like me, when I first stopped drinking at 27, I was devastated and I thought it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me and it was awful and I was never going to have fun again. What that is a perception. It's a belief. It's just, I just saw the world that alcohol was the best way to have fun, but I had to stop because my anxiety was so bad. Over the space of a few months, that perception shifted. I just saw it differently. I just didn't believe that anymore. I was having fun. I was, my life was better, all that kind of stuff. So you can't be sober as long as I've been sober, which at this point is 24 years, if you don't see things differently. There's just no way. If I still thought alcohol was the best way to have fun and I was missing out, I'd have been drunk 23 years ago if that was true. So all that's changed, the world hasn't changed. All that's changed is how you see the world. That's what changes. And we need a mechanical process to make that happen. The resentment process is that. Two best ways that I know of doing it are the 12 steps, step 4 and step 10, mechanical process, or REBT, Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy, which is the method that I teach in my programs. And it's very cognitive. It creates the shift in perception. And when we do that, what it reveals is our belief system, our faulty belief system, our limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are all in the subconscious mind. They are programs and they run the show. You are what you believe. You either have, I had a lot of negative beliefs about myself. I believed that I wasn't good enough, and I believed because I wasn't good enough, I wasn't going to be loved. And those beliefs to me were facts. They just were, because I had all this evidence to prove to myself that they were true, and they just became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Those now are a joke. I don't believe that. I know that I'm good enough and I know I'm worthy of being loved. I just don't believe those things anymore. But we have to dig them out to be able to change them. So those, in my experience, are the 4 core things that you really need to work on. And we just continue to work on them forever because we're growing and evolving human beings, just like yoga. We just need to keep doing our practice. Now, there's a few other things to that, like communication and mindfulness and all that kind of stuff. But I want to say what we're building here is a practice to maintain our mental and emotional health for the rest of our life. So if my mental and emotional health is in a really good place, I don't want a carcinogenic substance to fix how I feel and the fact that I had a bad day, right? My brain just doesn't go to, a drink would be a really good idea. You need a drink. You deserve a drink, right? Because what happens as a result of this is you just feel really comfortable in your own skin and you begin to love yourself. And why would I pour a carcinogenic poison down my throat if because I love myself and I want my body to be healthy and okay. So that's how we stay sober. We become emotionally sober, and the last thing that we want to do is to have a drink. So I'll tell you a little bit about what my practice looks like. On most days, I create time in my day. I read something, personal development book, spiritual book that just grounds me in something that is just deeper and something that really just resonates with me and gets me thinking and helps me grow. I sometimes have a prayer or an affirmation. I read something, I mentioned that. And then I do structured journaling. The structured journaling is if I have any resentments, I write them out in a specific method. I write out any fears that I have because that's plucking weeds out of my mind. I write out any limiting beliefs I'm working on. And I write 10 things that I'm grateful for. And that practice has kept me emotionally sober for over 20 years. And it's brought me everything that I've ever wanted. So that's an overview. Like a lot of this stuff is really, really in depth, which is why I have different programs and that kind of stuff. And I would definitely suggest you check them out if you want to kind of know more about that. There's also more in-depth stuff in my book as well. That would be a good thing to grab too. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or would like me to elaborate on anything, but I hope that gives you a kind of something to grasp hold of on what to do and why emotional sobriety is so important.